And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Here we are, taking a break in between episodes of Mad About You to record this podcast. This is episode 186. Who knows? You know. I don't. Because I'm busy trying to fix this God-blessing microphone. It keeps freaking falling over. And yes, I know the correct answer is for me to get... I might be twisting this in the wrong direction. This thing might be broken. The correct answer is for me to go and buy a desk arm. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I think I really did break it. Oh, I broke it for real. Interesting. Okay. Well then. Here we are. I did it. I finally, after years of owning this thing, I finally broke it. Should I keep this episode going? No, it's really broken. All right, well, I guess this is something for a future Chad to fix. Maybe just hold the microphone the entire time. What else has been going on? Well, I broke my microphone holder. So now I guess I have to go buy a desk arm. What else has been going on? Mad About You, been watching that. Some other stuff. Anyway, let's continue on with this stupid show because I got stuff to do. Oh, hold on. I forgot to press play on the thing. Okay, so unconventional opening aside. Welcome back to episode 186, I think, of the Constitutionals Podcast. It might be even 187. You know, I'll look. I'll look in the meantime. This is a very podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Nope, this is 189. I'm about 3 episodes off. I'm back into 2020. Baby, this first story comes from Natalie Jarvey over at The Hollywood Reporter. Apple mulls podcast subscription push amid Spotify's land grab. So this is going to be a very podcast business heavy episode. But what is it? So what do we know about Apple's world of podcasting? We know that they are the best RSS holder of podcasts. And why do we know that? Well, reviews are one thing, and they're the oldest podcatcher, I guess was what they're called. Oldest one to be hosting podcasts. They don't host the podcast. You can't just upload it. You can't upload your podcast to iTunes, which I'm sure, or Apple Podcasts now, which I'm sure would be a lucrative deal for them if they had server space, if they ever wanted to do that. Any Hoosers, but I mean, that's why they're popular. They're the oldest. They're the most, the most name recognition. No one's going to, people, like a regular person's not going to go, hey, Art19, no one's going to go, hey, you can listen to my podcast on art19.com. It's just not, no one's going to do it. No one's going to say, hey, go to megaphone.com and you can listen to this. What other podcast services are there? I don't know. So we have Spotify and Amazon coming in and swooping up and buying these smaller companies. Amazon only bought Wondery, but they can buy more. And Spotify bought Gimlet and Joe Rogan and just The Ringer and a slew of others. And that's where we are right now. So it's possible that Apple might be interested in procuring their own paid podcast service. Possible. We don't know. This is obviously THR, Natalie Jarvey, but this is via the information is a website. These talks have been ongoing since at least last fall. Sources tell, the Hollywood Reporter, and ultimately could end up taking several different forms. Regardless, it's clear that Tim Cook-led Apple, after spending the last 2 years watching rival in music streaming, Spotify invest hundreds of millions of dollars to align itself with some of the most prolific podcasters and most, I'm really trying to do this, person that's around, is no longer content sitting on the sideline. Podcasts are a huge money business now for certain people, famous people, and companies that pay for them, but no one else. And it's no secret that every company wants to be able to do this stuff. So Apple, they've already gotten into the TV game with Apple TV Plus, and that has proven to be. Well, I mean, we don't know the numbers, the numbers of paid subscribers. We know the number of subscribers because of the free nature of it so far for its first year and some change, a year and a half. But we don't know how many people are actually paying for it. So it's so we know, but that we know it's lucrative because they do have hits in Servant and The Morning Show and Dickinson, as well as movies that they're able to purchase too. But prior to that, they did the same thing with Apple Music when they had limited. At first, these releases were, and this is just coming to my head, were exclusively on Apple, but there were limited releases. What they turned out to be limited was Dr. Dre's last album, Compton, a Drake album from a couple years ago. I want to say 2013. Was also only exclusively on iTunes. So you had to buy it and then take the MP3s and drop it on whatever other music listening service you listen to that could fulfill that type of dream. And that didn't work out because people are going to listen to music or they're not going to listen to music. No one's going to like eagerly search out. Like they'll get the song, whether on YouTube for free, illegally, or by buying the actual physical disc. But no one wants to be stuck in one place listening to music in one place like that, unless it's a streaming service and unless it offers everything. So I think that's why it's so hard for music now. But for TV, boom, yeah, I'll subscribe to Peacock to watch the Saved by the Bell reboot. It works for that. For podcasts, it's a little up in the air because HAL, which then turned into Stitcher Premium, sold by EW Scripts to SiriusXM, and it's not exactly doing gangbusters. And I mean, I guess the same could go for Spotify too, because yeah, they have Joe Rogan and his fans are going to listen to that crap on wherever, but they tried that push before with Two Dope Queens. I remember it was initially from WNYC Studios, I believe. It was initially going to be, so it was initially free, and then for a spell, that show in particular was released like a couple weeks ahead of time on Spotify, and then it was available to the masses on other podcasting platforms. But seeing Apple want to do this could work. Because Apple Podcasts is the number one podcasting platform out there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They could do something like Patreon, Ms. Jarvie writes. This is so people can subscribe to their personalities, the favorite personality that they like, so they can subscribe to, just Joe Rogan. I can only think of Joe Rogan right now. Or Adam Carolla, should they want to, only on that, and just like pay him. But I don't know. This is all just speculative at the moment. Continuing on with Apple Podcasts, rather, it has a new Spotlight feature. This is written by Chance Miller over at 9to5Mac. Apple Podcasts launches a new Spotlight editorial feature to promote rising creators every month. So there's 850,000 podcasts. I believe that was in 2020. That was released late 2020. They have this new, and it's hard for discovery. It's hard for this show to even get discovered because 70 trillion people are doing something. There's a new feature called Spotlight that is available today on Apple Podcasts. That'll spotlight people who are creators on the rise, I guess. You can see this on the app. And they talk about I don't care about the person. I just want to know what the Spotlight feature is. Well, let's nothing better to do but to go on the app itself. You can only delete stuff. If you were, let's say, young and you liked free things on iTunes and they gave away free pilot episodes of TV shows, a lot of them you didn't even watch. I would say about 95% of them you didn't even watch. I would say 98% of them you didn't watch. And you said, you know what? I'm just going to get these because one day, what if I do want to watch it? And cut to about 10, 15 years later, you now have like 100 pilots that you've never seen. And then one day, maybe this past week, you go down, you have to download iTunes back to your laptop because you deleted it because no one uses iTunes anymore. And you had to chug along on that very sluggish app and right click, delete from library, right click, delete from library on every single show. That is on that was on iTunes. Any Hoosers, I'm popping open the app. And yes, they have this. It just says a featured show, and she has. And this is somebody who seems to be okay. Well, hold on. She's had famous people as guests, so that's not really fair. But yeah, she doesn't have as many reviews and reviews are an arbitrary way of judging a show's popularity, but I think it's easier this way. She only has like 317 reviews, but so she doesn't look to be as popular as others. So yeah, there's a new Spotlight feature, and I thought that was very interesting. Speaking of podcasts, last one for the first part of this episode, Pocket Casts will go up for sale again 3 years after acquisition by Public Radio Group, written by Corbin Davenport over at Android Police. Let me just zoom in on this. Okay. Podcast player application Pocket Cast, which is what I use, which I don't suggest you download because now it's free and it's a subscription based versus before it was you pay $5 for each version of the app, including online, including accessing the web player. You get $5 for the Android app, $5 for the iOS app, $5 in order to listen to it on the web. At the time, best $15 ever spent. It was acquired by a public radio group in mid-2018, right around the time Spotify started expanding into the podcast world. The service had some up and downs, blah, blah. Okay, anyway. The thing is, the public radio group is is joined by things like New York Public Radio and NPR. But as of September 30th, 2020, both of those companies have the largest shares of Pocket Media, which owns Pocket Cast. Chicago Public Media owns a good percent, and BBC Studios Americas owns a minuscule percent. But Pocket Cast has been operating at a loss for the past couple of years, and last year was no different. NPR expects to no longer be an investor in podcast media by September 30th, 2021. Now, whether that means so basically what that means is, excuse me, I just got an email. Basically what that means is that NPR is not going to, they have their own podcast player, and they're looking for ways to put money back into the newsroom because the coronavirus did affect their funding, which comes from the public and other companies. So they have their own podcast player, NPR One, which I downloaded, had for years, had never opened it, but I thought it was the only way to listen to NPR on my phone, and technically it was, but now everything's on a podcast platform for them. So, and also have SiriusXM. Doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. However, it is. I mean, what doesn't make sense for them to one of their investors, one of NPR's donors is Amazon. Would it make sense for Amazon to also donate to Target? No, it would not. So NPR is, just kind of just looking at the big picture. I don't know if that means that they're going to take this money, put it back in the newsroom, or put it into a better app for mobile devices, or they're going to put it into NPR One. But this is a swift kick to the knee for Pocket Cast, because they would. But now they have the subscription model thing that's been going on for about a year and a half. So I don't know if this is, but NPR is a huge donor to them. Are operating at a loss, and they weren't corporate before, so hopefully this will take them back to their roots. All right, listen, we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna figure out this microphone thing. When we come back, hopefully the microphone will be fixed. And if not, then who cares? And welcome back from break. I did not fix the microphone. I tried very dutifully to fix the microphone. Hey, let's get into this next story. I got information about the cat. She is currently sitting over her food bowl as if I will be feeding her within the next 15 minutes. She has to wait 45 minutes to get fed. Keep him on a schedule. Keep him on a schedule, baby. Let's go. Oh, my God. Speaking of podcasts, this is a story I admittedly have not read, but I did see the headline for, and I thought it was interesting. This comes from Ashley Carmen over at The Verge. Hello, Ashley. Spotify is paying podcasters tens of thousands of dollars to buoy its own sponsorship tool. I just keep getting emails left and right, baby. And they're all about bills. So, Spotify bought Anchor in 2018. Right. Right, is it true? Spotify bought Anchor a couple years ago. Anchor is the company that I'm using their app currently right now as a soundboard, and that's all I use it for. It is a podcasting platform that makes it easy for anyone with a phone to podcast. All you have to do is download the app, maybe load in some sound effects of your own or get some sound effects from their own private library, and do your little podcast. You put in some sound effects, maybe put in an ad read or two, which you can get from Anchor, and upload your podcast. Boom, you got your podcast. But here's the thing. Those ad reads, A, available for everybody, which we'll get to in a second, and B, are all the bill is being footed by Anchor, a.k.a. the company that owns it, Spotify. So this takes place in between 2018 and 2020, this story. I'm talking about how some podcasters who they allow for their shows to have ads because that's how you get paid. And some of the ads came from companies like Pocket Cast, which we just talked about, the app, which doesn't pay for ads, and the Black Tux, and also Anchor itself. So to those companies, Anchor, Pocket Cast, are technically not paying for the ads. They're just being advertised, and Black Tux is the only advertiser. Some of these ads have lasted less than a month, and gotten this particular person, only $50 total. Anchor, on the other hand, quote, has paid him around $2,500 to advertise its own service. So the problem is that The Verge talked to 9 podcasters. Ashley over at The Verge talked to 9 podcasters, said the same story. Anchor's sponsorship feature seems to be seriously lacking in sponsors, and they've received few, if any, opportunities beyond Anchor or Spotify itself, which means that they are just doing self-promotion. I was going to say cross-promotion, but if anything, this is self-promotion. it's kind of like it's kind of like if I said, "Hey, listen to the Constitutionals wherever you get your podcast." At the end of the Constitutionals, which I do every single week, which I've done for the past 187 episodes, 188 episodes, or not? Who knows? So Anchor, why were you on the counter? I don't understand. There's nothing up there for you. So Anchor has software. There's multiple versions of well, there's only a couple. There's a couple of versions of software for podcast hosts, not like a host like me, but a podcast hosting company that can use right now. That's kind of like it's automatic software. So earlier when I said they can input ads, they can do ad reads and all that stuff for Anchor in particular. All right, so let me do the first one because the first one you'll notice in a second. Shows companies like Stitcher Premium will go with like a company like Megaphone, which is a podcast server host, I guess, whatever. They provide the RSS feed and all this stuff, and they host a show, whatever. And they allow for a company like Megaphone or even Art19 maybe, and all the other ones too. They probably do this too. Are doing this technology. So the original way of doing an ad read was you find a sponsor, or a sponsor finds you. You find a sponsor, or a sponsor finds you. Manscaped. They come to you. They say, "Hey, read this ad on your show. We'll pay you this much money," which is apparently not that much. After the big wigs get their hand on it, and then you read the ad on your show. People go and buy Manscaped because of your show. Your listeners go and buy, and they type in your code word, and then boom, you get some kickback. They get most of the kickback. So the newest way of doing that is those companies, Manscaped, will go out to a separate marketing company, or they'll use their own marketing arm. They'll make the commercial 15, 30 seconds, 45, however long you're paying for, and then they will send it to to the show, and then automatically on to the RSS feed or to Megaphone or Art19 or whatever, and it'll upload that ad to that episode of that show. And then they can do that. And then if they stop paying for that sponsorship, then another company can come in and say, "Hey, I want to buy 12 ad placements on This American Life or Comedy Bang Bang." And then they can start in those same spots where it's not a show, it's just the ad spots. They can replace those Manscaped ads with ads for Brother printers. So that's a new technology. So Anchor is kind of like a mix between those. You can input you read your own ads, but they'll reach out to sponsors for you. So they'll reach out to Black Tux and say, "Hey, we're going to offer you Black Tux. You can opt in for a Black Tux ad, or you can opt out, and you can do the ad yourself." Whew. All right. So now everybody who's on Anchor, who uses Anchor, 100,000 people, apparently, I think is what I read in this article, use Anchor to make podcasts, and they are able to monetize their podcasts, and you get paid based on you get ad offers based on how many thousand to thousands of listeners you get. So every 1,000 you bring, you get a certain amount of dollars, and truly just dollars. Keep in mind, the only people making money are the super famous people who like just decided to do a podcast. Your Conans, your office ladies. Those are the people getting paid a lot of money to do podcasts versus the other ones that don't, unless they're on Patreon. Then they get, however much their fans want to put in. But now it looks like Spotify has been paying this money to its own to its people, basically just to keep them on. Anchor seems to be bankrolling its own sponsorship, and that's how Spotify's. That's part of the reason why it took so long for Spotify to reach the green when it came to their money woes. And they need to figure this out. and for a lot of these shows, they lose sponsorships at the end of the, sponsorships only last for like a couple of months or so. And they lose sponsorships and they don't hear anything back. So it's kind of like Spotify's giving you a taste of the dragon. You like it so much. All right. This is a new thing I found out. This comes from Vox and the New York Times. Ezra Klein is moving to the New York Times. Apparently, he announced this in December. Did not know that. And that includes his podcast is moving from Vox to the New York Times. His podcast is called The Ezra Klein Show. Ezra Klein, if you don't know, he's a political analyst, very smart, nerdish guy. And his show is he just sits down with smart people to talk about what's going on in the world. And I like him. And his move from Vox makes sense. Vox constantly asking me for money when I read on their website. But so is the New York Times, so it's all fine. It premieres on January 26th. January 26th, and every Friday and Tuesday he's going to talk to, he's going to have a conversation about something that matters. Okay, I'm not going to do a freaking thing for this. You can go ahead and listen to the preamble for the show, but the Ezra Klein Show is no more on Vox, and now that show is becoming, I think it's called Vox Opinions now. I think they've already made the transition. But I did leave a rundown of Ezra Klein. I call it the Ezra Klein Show starter pack. And I can only assume that the RSS feeds for that show will be moving over to a different host, so who knows. But he's a smart guy, and I wish him the best over at New York Times. You're not getting fed, man. Not for 25 minutes. Why are you looking dejected? What are you doing? I'm talking to the cat. I'm sure that's great for the video watcher. All right, listen, I got to fix this podcast microphone arm. Listen, if you like what you heard here, and I don't know why you did, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to your favorite comedians, Chris Gathard, Maria Bamford, Craig Ferguson, Jermaine Fowler, Ron Funches, Jimmy Pardo, just like a handful of people I've spoken to. You can also head to the website, youtube.com/cpluscomedy, to the URL, and see a version of the show in video form. I don't know why you would do that. See me sitting in a Target sweatshirt with Target shorts and probably Target socks. And definitely Target underwear. Boxer briefs. I like to keep everything nice and tight. Also on youtube.com/cpluscomedy, you can find our premiere show, News Time, which is like the Daily Show, except less funny. I take one story and I talk about it. This week's episode is about the inauguration, and I put it out on Inauguration Day. It's a good episode. Not like last week's episode, which was phenomenal, but this week's episode, pretty good. Have to figure out next week's episode. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CPlusComedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @ChatBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook, rate, review, subscribe to this podcast, literally wherever you get your podcasts. Only the big platforms. I don't want to put it on like Radio Public or whatever it's called, or the other ones. It's mostly Apple and Stitcher and Spotify and Google. And yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends. I'm done. Bye. Oh, nope. It didn't start. Okay, here we go. Bye.